So I'm here back again with principles of inheritance and variation, and this is for my class 12 students. In the first part already I have given you all the terms associated with this chapter rather, which you should know before going into the details. Now several questions have come from my students. I gave you all the 7 pair of contrasting characters being considered by Mendel while studying the pea plant. Mendel, what did he do, children? He took for his experimental studies the pea plant, that is Pisum sativum. What did he take? Pisum sativum. Now, in the first part I have told you all, he considered so many pairs of contrasting characters. So already those characters have been mentioned in the previous video. But the question is, why he specifically took pea plant for this experimental purpose? Though I have mentioned few points, but so many queries related to it have come to me. So again I am repeating it. Those pairs of contrasting, so many pairs of contrasting, the 7 pairs of contrasting characters in pea plant was seen by Mendel. And you know why pea plant was taken? Because the life cycle of pea plant is very short, children. So the experimental studies can be completed within a short time. That is 3 to 4 weeks, I told you. Moreover, pea plant can produce many seeds in one generation. Third point, they can get self-pollinated because contains bisexual sauna, violet flower and white flower. Those contrasting characters, they bear bisexual flowers, means they are capable of getting self-pollinated. Even cross-pollination could have been possible, was possible rather, by removing the anther from that very particular flower. So many advantageous factors were there in the pea plant. Now I mentioned some of them. So easy to grow, easy to get the offspring, life cycle too small, bears bisexual flowers, so many seeds can be produced from one generation. So taking all these factors into consideration, Mendel took pea plant for his experimental studies. Before going into the other aspect, you all have already studied in class 10 the monohybrid inheritance and the dihybrid inheritance. There are certain laws which you will be studying, but today, before going into the laws, this video I would just specify myself into the monohybrid inheritance and the dihybrid inheritance of Mendel, rather only the monohybrid inheritance, because I don't want to confuse you all with it. Now see, the monohybrid inheritance means, yesterday I told you all that each trait consists of a pair of contrasting characters represented by the alleles. Genes contains pair of alleles, or forms of genes are known as alleles. Monohybrid inheritance means only one trait was taken into consideration by Mendel. Only one trait was taken into consideration by Mendel. So let us see how he worked out. I told you all, rather than a botanist, he was a mathematician. So everywhere you will find the mathematical calculation over here. This is already a part of class 10. You have studied in class 10. So I will explain the monohybrid inheritance and some simple problems associated with it, some questions associated with it. Now see, let us move into it. Now what did Mendel? First of all, today we will be dealing with Mendel's monohybrid inheritance. What? Monohybrid inheritance. Now in this, I would like what Mendel said. I'm not saying anything. What did he do? He took pure tall pea plant. Yesterday also, or in my previous video, I have told you all, I have explained that these two allelic form of the genes, when both are denoted by capital letters, that means they are dominant, and the phenotype of that person would be tall. So tall can be because of two, maybe because of this homozygous form or because of this heterozygous form. But what did Mendel do? For his experimental studies, he took pea plant pure tall, he had already studied, and he crossed it with pure dwarf, pure tall and pure dwarf. This is the recessive part. Both are recessive. That means what? It will be dwarf. So all the gametes produced means this is one of the parent, this is the other parent. Crossing over is taking place. Okay. Now the gametes produced by this parent will contain what? This capital T. All the gametes produced. And here all the gametes produced. What will this contain? This will contain small t. This will contain small t. These are the gametes. Now cross. What will happen? There will be fusion of the gametes, and this fusion of the gametes will result in offspring. And yesterday I had told you all, first filial generation, second filial generation means the offspring produced, generation after another. So in the first offspring, in the first filial generation, what the offspring produced, what you all are going to see, they are all tall. They are all tall. That means from this we can come to the conclusion. What conclusion we can come? That in the first filial generation, the offspring will resemble one of the parent. We are not going into the genotype. We are going simply into the phenotypic form right now. Means the physical appearance. Means in the first filial generation, one of the offspring, means the offspring produced will be resembling one of the parent, will be resembling one of the parent. Okay. Now what did he do? What did Mendel do? He carried out selfing. What is selfing? Means the offspring produced in this generation, they are crossed amongst themselves, selfing. Okay. Now the gametes produced, this is one of the parent, this is the other parent. What is being done? Selfing is being done. So what? Here the gametes produced, all the gametes produced will be either carrying this allelic form of the gene or this allelic form. Here also all the gametes will be carrying either this or either this. There will be two types of gametes produced. Now from here Mendel wanted to get the F2 generation. What? The F2 generation. So to get the F2 generation, what you have to do, children, rather, I'll show you now. This is just again I am reminding you all, this is a recapitulation of nothing but class 10. But I have to, because it is there in your syllabus in class 12 also. So what will happen? Now this, yesterday we discussed now. The Punnett square concept also we discussed. Given by whom? Of course Punnett was responsible, but This is with how it helps in mathematical calculation in a better way. So you write the gametes produced by one of the parents over here, one of the parents. Now the gametes produced by the other parent over here, what over here. Is it clear? Now you have to see how things go on. Gamete of one parent, now the gametes would come together, now fusion of gametes. Now what would happen? The gamete of one parent and the gamete of the other parent would come together and you will get this. The gamete of this one and the gamete of this one would come and you would get this. Okay, now the gamete of this and this would come together, you will get this. These two gametes would again be coming together and you will get this. So, you can see over here that what out of this entire offspring produced, what is three of them are tall. Why? This is pure tall. Here you have capital T and small t. So, capital T will be dominating over small t. So, this will also be tall. This will be tall. This will be tall. And this will be tall. And this will be dwarf or short. So here outside appearance you can see and tell 3 tall and 1 dwarf. So what will be the phenotypic ratio, children? The phenotypic ratio of tall is to short, would be 3:1. Is 3:1. You will be asked the genotypic ratio also. What you will be asked? You will be asked the genotypic ratio also. So, if you want to write the genotypic ratio, that is the genotypic ratio, then the genetic constitution you will be. Now see, there is one pure tall. Then there is two. It's not pure. There is combination of both the forms. Then you have one short. So what the ratio, genotypic ratio would be? 1:2:1. 1:2:1. Sometimes. So the phenotypic ratio of monohybrid inheritance is what? Is 3:1 and genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. So from here comes the law of dominance. The law of dominance means when a trait or character, means the genes or alleles, both the forms are present, what will happen? The allelic form or the factor which is dominant will express itself and the other which is recessive will not get expressed in the presence of the dominant factor. So, what is law of dominance? Means expression of dominant form and non-expression of the recessive form. This is law of dominance given by Mendel. Now, so today we have seen law of dominance. Now see, let us work out the cross, and so you will gain more confidence. Okay, suppose any character, suppose a heterozygous, what we saw, अब तक क्या देखे हो? What we saw, pure tall and pure short. It was pure. Now let us solve another thing and see monohybrid ratio, how it changes. Okay. Suppose we take the heterozygous form. This is dominant, this is recessive. And we are crossing it with a homozygous form. That is the recessive form. So here, what happens, children? What will happen? You will be getting two gametes. You will be getting two gametes. Okay. So, what do you think? What you are getting? Ultimately, can this occur? This is for you because first generation, when you are coming across, you will see that each form, this will combine with this one, this can combine with this one, this can combine with this one, and this can combine with this one. So both the forms may be present. So here what happens, those that the same what we discussed in Mendel's monohybrid inheritance, that what that the first generation means F1 generation contains what, the offspring which is resembling one of the parents, not both the parents. This is the rule of monohybrid inheritance. Any means deviation from the true line crossing would bring about some other result. So with this children, tomorrow or day after tomorrow in part 3, we would be taking up what, the dihybrid inheritance, that is the law of independent assortment, law of segregation we will be dealing with. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe and take care. God bless you.